The nation is divided. It is 2020, election year. It's going to be Donald Trump face to face with Joe Biden in November. And what a year it is for division in this country. Not only do we have a lot of folks that just aren't a fan of Donald Trump, but we also have Black Lives Matter protests exploding. And all folks are divided about that in terms of systemic issues, racism, names of places. Is it okay to tear down statues of Confederate soldiers? Is it okay to name our football team the Redskins? Is it okay to have Aunt Jemima as your syrup because of how it plays on an old black stereotype of the lady helping the family? And then we have coronavirus. Boy, we have what the government has said versus what states are implementing and how different political party governors will enact different policies. We have, is it appropriate for the president to not wear a mask, to speak out against it? Is it okay for the president to call it the Chinese flu? There are so many things that are just dividing people left and right. And in high school, I actually had a prophecy on how we could unite ourselves. And this was in 2002, almost 20 years ago. And I think now more than ever, this is a good time to go back on that diary entry and see what I wrote. Here goes. 2002. When I was in fifth grade, I cheered for the intramural Green Bay Packers because my buddy Jeff was in it. When I was in sixth grade, I cheered for blank elementary math team when we were overdoing some math competition casino thing against other elementaries. When I was in 11th grade, I cheered for the blank football team because, well, I go to blank school. When I was in college at the University of Blank, I cheered for the basketball team as they strove to success without their star player Blank. When I went to the 2004 Olympics, I cheered for the United States team and booed at the Koreans pushing people from side to side. Hell, I booed everyone else just to make them feel bad. When an alien race from a different galaxy invaded Earth, I was horrified. A fleet of fighters were crafted and assembled to combat them. They flew to whereabouts traceable by the government. Over the course of 70 years, a huge armada was collected near the alien planet. They invaded and proceeded to massacre entire populations that were unaware of the danger that lurks so near all these years. The Earth fleet basically caught them with their pants down. Infantries were unloaded upon the planet and unarmed men, women, and children, all which were considered to be threats, were all slain on the spot. After several years of combat, the alien race which had once attacked Earth was entirely wiped out. We all cheered. Now, if that last paragraph sounded a little familiar, it's because I was reading Ender's Game at the time. A very good book, and in terms of the story of it, it's really genocide. And in that last chapter, if you read it, they're fighting these aliens that they can't communicate with, and they seem to be a threat. And what they end up doing was they end up just killing all of them. Ender thought it was a simulation, but it was for real. And so he ended up killing the entire race until there was just maybe a bit left. And he was trying to communicate through it. And he realized they thought each other were threats because they could not communicate and they just assumed the worst of each other. After all, We all have to have a self-defense mechanism. But if we cannot communicate, isn't it much better to assume the other person is a threat? And that was a very important story. And this whole story is actually just my observation from my diary in high school. Oh, well, I won't say diary, journal, right? Journal, a little more manly, right? But the whole observation was I noticed throughout the years, no matter where I went, there was always an alignment, always choosing sides, always us versus them. And it would always change, so not necessarily arbitrarily, but yeah, arbitrarily. And all every time we switch, depending on the game, we're just switching sides with the same people. Of course, this was all in the state I grew up in, Hawaii, and it's true. In elementary, you're all the same folks, but you divide yourselves based on team. You go to the same intermediate school, then you might divide yourselves based on which elementary school you came from, and then you go to college. A lot of those Hawaiian folks are together in the same college or university, and now you're competing against other, I guess, folks in the division. I don't know, Long Beach or University of Washington. And every single time, I know everybody's going to say, it's just a friendly competition. But at the heart of it is something I see again and again, time and time again, not just in this country, throughout human history, and that is us versus them. You support us, you vilify, you boo them. And that's what we're seeing with the election. That's what we're seeing with the division. And so the best way to change and unify us is very simple. You change what is us by having a common them. Aliens. But of course, I barely believe in intelligent life. In other, it's very unlikely that such intelligent life would ever come about, and they would have our level of intelligence as well as our level of development, or even if their planet was able to spawn life, would they have the technology or the ingredients, right, um, to make technology, amazing technology, to fly to our eco or galaxy? I doubt it. Much more likely is that we would have a common enemy in the next, I don't know, during my lifetime, which is what's ongoing now. It would be the People's Republic of China. Because as you know, it's a large country. It is communist in ideology. Only in ideology because when you look at their economy, it's very capitalist. The government owns the land and they lease it to the people, but when you see the difference in wealth between, I don't know, wealthy people that own the companies and then the dirt poor farmers on the countryside that have their kids taking number two in the middle of the street, that is not communist ideology. And that is not spreading the wealth. All right. And so because of that, because of the trade war, because of the tremendous amount of economic and I guess also political strength that China has, it is a threat to the United States. And the coronavirus only exacerbated that because to be a participant, a strong participant in the world, just the health of the world, economics and politically, you'd have to be more willing to help out instead of, hiding information or, what it seems to be like you're paying the WHO to give yourself, your own party, a favorable view. And so that it's not going to escalate or explode into a war today just because economies are hurting, but it's probably going to lay a seed for the future. And when that time comes, we're going to see a lot of nationalism. We're going to see a lot of people rallying because people will see their whole country as us rallying against the evil communists. Until one day in the midst of the war, it'll just be like Vietnam, right? And what happened with Vietnam? It was the same thing. The Truman Act. Okay, we're gonna stand behind this. All Americans. We're gonna vanquish communism. We're not gonna let it spread because communism is evil. People still today have that view. But what happened? What happened was the media happened, and not just biased media. It's just enlightening us on what's happening there. My Lai massacre. Viet Cong soldiers getting shot in the head like a dog by supposed allies, the South Vietnamese allies. That little girl running around naked because her village was bombed. Agent Orange just used to just destroy all these fields where guerrilla North Vietnamese communists, Viet Cong, might be hiding. And once people saw all the atrocities done by the American military, the idea of us as the good guys dissolved. I'm sure there were some other people that were for it, but the view that it's a unified us against the evil communists, that just went away. And makes sense because once you see the reality of it, how could you possibly say this is what I believe in? I am part of this. And so we'll probably see some of that as well in the future. Anyway, so that's my prophecy. Obviously, I had a lot of extra time when I was in high school. And, well, we'll see it come true. I hope not, but there's a very strong probability it will. And that is when our country will be united. Thank you.